Okay. And we are live. Say something.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Check.
Great. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Marcel.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, man. We are live. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much. It's great being here, man.
Yeah, this is great, man. See, even yesterday when I came, it took me I think twice as long to set everything up.
Today is just faster.
Yeah, because like the guest didn't show up, so then I had to had to redo the whole thing, put my teleprompter on,
Yeah.
do all of this.
Yeah, I
But
still haven't seen I would love to kind of check out the teleprompter.
Yeah, I'll show you. But it's nice, man. I feel like, especially when you're a creator, you should invest in like these tools.
Yeah, I'm guilty of not doing that. I'm like, oh damn, should I wait it out? Should I save up for this thing and all of that? I always feel that it's like, but it's so important to have the correct, and especially for like podcast creators, I think mic is the most basic because
Yeah, man.
because see that's the thing, right? Like when you're going with with an audio only platform, you don't have too many variables, right?
Correct.
Like at least mic too, you should have good. Like
Correct.
you can't have that as an excuse.
Correct.
So that I learned it pretty much last year itself when I bought myself a Zoom, not Zoom, sorry, it was a Yeti, Blue Yeti, which is
Yeah.
like the quintessential.
That's said to be like a really good mic,
yeah,
right?
it's a quintessential mic, but it's a condenser mic, so it does pick up a lot of other stuff as well. And honestly, in Indian households, you just pick up
so
random fucking some masalas being made and like you're picking that up.
Some
or
pressure cooker.
some
going
pressure
up.
cooker, or like ting tong, or like some eagle is flying. Because I stay on the 11th floor in Calcutta, so that was always a struggle. But now, I mean, now it's I didn't even carry that mic to Bangalore. Like I have a different mic which my office gave me, which is a podcasting mic. Like when I saw the box, it was like it said, okay, it's a mic built for podcasters. I'm like, okay, great. The use case is
which mic is it?
so it's a Shure. I think it's a
Is it like the black box?
Yeah.
Man,
So
they're really expensive.
They're really
no?
expensive. I think they're about 30K.
30K, yeah.
30K.
Correct. But the sound quality
Oh,
must be
it's fucking insane. It's
Too
fucking insane. I mean, we use it as a professional
Correct.
grade recording, so need to have that much of But I mean, it's great that I use it on a daily basis. But then again, it's not mine, so it's like a sort of a that vibe is there. Okay, are you really mine? Like I'm using you every day, but you belong to me. So,
But yeah, man. So the one that's there, that's the SM58.
Yes.
That is fucking beautiful.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's really expensive.
Yes.
It's like some 10K.
correct.
Then I got so I got only one first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, bro, what if I have a guest? Okay, I'll get another one. What if I have another guest? I'll get another one. So then I got the PGA 48s.
Yeah.
But the PGAs don't compare to the SM58,
Yeah.
man.
And how much is it for though? The PG?
It's like 2.5K.
Oh,
And that's
interesting.
like 10K. But like the this thing is, I've even opened it just to see what's the big difference.
Yeah.
And
The
this
drivers
is, I think,
are-
a condenser. It has like a ball sort of thing inside. That thing is like, it's flat. There's nothing inside. It's just like a box sort of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, dude, the audio quality in that is too good. It's really nice.
Yeah, I mean the warmth I think that Shure gives you with their mics. I think that's a very distinct profile that Shure mics have, which even like a Joe Rogan, like they've had it on, and he's been obviously a proponent of Shure for such a long time. So that warmth which you have, along with the acoustics itself, like I think it just makes your conversation that much better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So true. But cool, man. Why don't you tell people what you do? I think
wow.
it's really fascinating, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll talk about what happened yesterday and like parts of our conversation. from
Yeah,
last
for
night.
sure. Right. So what I do is actually I'm a full-time podcaster. So this is actually what you're doing right now is my daily job. Like when I'm actually on the other side of the table and I have to speak to guests and I have to write my script. So I'm a podcast host, creator, and producer at the Gyaan. The Gyaan is a business journalism organization which was started in 2016. And we just started our audio team as well. We, of course, started with the usual, writing long form, like very good, very in-depth long form articles. But what I meant by usual, there was on written text, and written was obviously much more popular back then. But audio has been picking up. I think ever since 2017, 2018, audio has been an extremely interesting format that people are exploring. I myself started my own podcast. That's what Shree said in 2018. So I was back in college then. And I was like, okay, you know what? Why not have my own? So, I mean, that time, of course, I didn't know that it was going to be a podcast. So it was interesting, right? Because I had actually started that as a side project that I was in Delhi. I was working in Delhi. And this was, I was calling this, I knew about the Anchor app that it records like voice. And I was like, okay, great. I like, speaking to people about random shit, and like, I can actually record it. So it's not like a voice recorder, but you can actually publish it and all of that. I didn't know it was a podcast. So my idea was to have a limited series called Mask Off. That was the name because I was new in Delhi and like, there was too much of pollution. So I was like, okay, I want people to get their mask off and talk. Of course, this is before the pandemic, before mask actually had that meaning, but I wanted to have these conversations with people. And I did end up having some conversations. I went to Dharamshala as well, where I spoke to one dude who was there. I spoke to one cab driver who was telling me the difference between Delhi and New Delhi, which blew my mind. Like, I was like, okay, I didn't know, like, there are so many, differences between that. And like, one episode. So if you actually go to my podcast, which is, that's what she said. The first episode is actually called Mask Off, because it's like a tribute to the series. Although I released that in 2018, I actually recorded it in 2017. So my relationship with audio has been like, it's the 5th year running sort of. And I started with the Ken in like, March of this year. So as a full-time I never knew I'm going to be a full-time podcaster. Like, that was something that kind of happened. You can say luck, you can say like happenstance and all of that, but that happened in March. And it's been 6 months ever since, and 6 months ever since. And yeah, just releasing episodes now on a week. Yesterday, released my episode as well. So it's pretty fun.
So what's your podcast called?
So the podcast that I do for the Ken is called Cost to Company. Essentially, it's a narrative show, which is it's a multi-interview plus narrative-based show. So essentially, you can think of it as a fishbone structure where we have one singular narrative which goes on, and we have multiple perspectives and guest interviews. So I do like a 1-hour conversation, but I take like 3 minutes of your conversation, whatever is the most interesting part or the most provocative part, or thought-provoking part as well. So that depends on what the narrative itself is. So that's called Cost to Company. We release every week. Although I have a co-host as well, Sneha. Lovely to work with, and she has such a vast amount of experience in the journalism space. So the way we look at it is that she has a lot of journalism experience. I myself, although I've just started, but I have content experience because I've worked with doing it for this thing. So I was at JioSavan where I didn't do podcasts, although podcasts were pretty much. I would say that JioSavan was one of the first players that kind of brought original podcast programming to India back in 2016 or 17. Although I was not in the podcast team, I was actually in the music label. So I was kind of helping with acquiring indie music, promoting indie music and all of that.
Right.
But coming back to Cost to Company, so it's a show about careers and workplaces. I think what's really interesting, and we can obviously chat about that with your experience as well, is that workplaces and careers have been changing because of the pandemic, because of the creator economy. All of these things have kind of come together, and there have been so many shifts. But the problem and the opportunity that we saw was not everybody knew what was really happening. And people in an Indian context in particular, right? Like, there was nothing which was codified. There was nothing, okay, people were doing blogs, people were doing random one-offs, but there was not this one place where you could kind of get all the answers or get like new perspectives. So that's the aim with the show, and our tagline is that hear how your workplace is changing before you hear it on Slack. So we want to get to the in-depths of like your organization and see what's happening. That okay, is equity becoming a part of job offers now? Is it a thing, or are people getting laid off because they were hired at salaries which were like pretty ridiculous?
Right.
So these are some of these questions are uncomfortable, but that's the point. We've said we've always had our salaries and our careers to be shrouded in secrecy, but I think with the help of LinkedIn, with the help of these platforms, it's becoming a more open conversation. It's becoming a more feasible conversation, and we just want to be the platform for that. And we hope to be the voice of the community, where we kind of talk to people in the community and not just like a Bangalore tech startup-y thing, because it's very easy to fall into that trap, but also in general speak about what's happening as a trend. And you have like counterintuitive points as well. Like, we don't want to have a very dry sort of a thing. At the Ken, we believe in having narratives which are sharp and detailed and have depth, right? And depth can only come when you have clarity, and clarity can only be there once you know that you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we at the Ken kind of not just for our podcast, but I think for our narratives as well, for our long forms as well, we kind of make sure that that's there. So it's been honestly, it was a very grueling experience coming up with the show, because we didn't release an episode for 5 months. Like, we were just in the pre-production stage, and we were in this sort of limbo where we wanted to know what we wanted to do with the show. Like, we were kind of okay, what is the show going to be about, right? And I think those questions are very important to kind of tackle. And the only way you can get out of that is to iteration. So I think that was a big lesson for Costa Company. But now, and that's what I was telling Sneha as well, who's the co-host, that it's so good to be in a production that is greenlit, that you know what you're working on for the next month. So we have our pipelines and all of that, which we'll obviously get into the details of. But it's great to be working for a greenlit production, because for the longest time we were like, kya hai ye? We were like kuch to hai yahan par, but kya hai? It was like a situationship,
Sure
it was like
situation.
yeah. So I think now that you know that, okay, I mean, I don't know about how long term it is or how many seasons we'll have and all that, but at least you know that, okay, you're dating, like that's there. So I think that's really helped out with the show, and it's been great. The feedback's been great, and
you guys are like #1 on Apple and
yeah, we
Spotify?
debuted. We had a debut, #1 debut on Apple, on the new and noteworthy, and on various other business charts and all that. Now, of course, the struggle or the part that we have to solve is to consistently kind of pump up our charts, because we're there on like top 5, top 10. But how do we make sure that we're acing the top 1? Because when you're launching, then obviously all guns blazing, everybody's excited, everybody's sharing it, but you got to keep that momentum rolling. So that's something that I think we'll sort of hopefully get a hang of sooner rather than later. And what's good is that we are very sure that we want to publish every week. Like that consistency is honestly like the gold standard for us. So sure, quality might go up and down a bit, but we don't want to have a miss, especially in the starting out phases. We don't want to have a miss where we sort of week where we kind of miss out, or we don't kind of give a episode, or be like, what, sorry, we didn't just feel up to it. So that I think is very important for us to kind of optimize for.
I think for any creator who's really starting out, and I struggle with this too, it's really important to like prioritize and kind of zero in on what it is that you want to lock in. Right? Either it is quality, which ideally when you're starting out it shouldn't be, but I've seen a few people kind of like do well with it, right? Or it is consistency. So like oftentimes, like I have 2 channels. I try to put out 2 vlogs a week, ideally, and like 1 main channel video. And I feel like last week, I felt like the video that I had, it was done. I had recorded it, I had edited it, and I just wasn't seeing the value in it. So then I decided to scrape it and then did a whole new video. It took like an additional week. But I feel like, obviously you can't do that every week, but having like the right mix of consistency while also maintaining the quality it's pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think.
But it's kind of wild, man, that we're doing this full time. We are in I feel like I have, it hasn't hit me yet. Like just, I left my job at 3rd of June was my last day. So it's been maybe 3 months, less than 3 months. And I'm sitting in a studio with like fucking 2 cameras and doing this it's insane, man.
It's insane.
But yeah, dude, I think that speaks volumes about the opportunity that is there if you can, create it. Because you can't just wait to sit around and shit just happen, right?
I think that's a very distinct thing about the creator economy, right? Like, you can actually create opportunities. Which if you think about it in other, even if you think like a skill-based thing, like an actor, right? They can't, I mean, traditionally, you would have a film and then they would be put on it. But they wouldn't create their own opportunity. Sure, like their films would get more films. But it's not that that actor would do something or have their own distribution or have their own content which would get it. So I think that is what has really opened up. And that's honestly happened because of, these platforms and because of these means of distribution. Because earlier on, it was a very linear sort of a thing where, okay, you have your big screen theaters and you're consuming content. There was not much of this thing. But now it's like an instant feedback is there and you have so much of stuff happening which people can put out. So I think that difference between putting out something like, for example, let's even talk about films, right? Because I'm very passionate about films as well. If you were greenlit for a project, if you were kind of signing something, then by the time you sign it and by the time it actually releases, it could have been a good 1 year or 2 years. If you compare it to today, if an actor has to do a reel, they can pretty much pull it off in an hour. Like do you see the difference between a year and an hour?
From like ideation to execution to feedback. It's instant.
It's instant, right? So that has really opened up. Of course, there are negative effects and there are negative and it's kind of flattened out where you don't because everybody has the like you can do it in an hour, I can do it in an hour. So why is Saif Ali Khan so special, for example? Right? Like, you know, like of course he has his innate ability and you know, style and everything, but like we can also have it. So I think that's it. It's opened it up. Like, you know, creator economy is like, you know what, fuck the floodgates.
Yeah.
It's yours. So it's just that you have to grab it and you have to create it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing.
And I think that's where consistency sets you apart,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
it
so
really
many,
does.
even in the podcasting space, often when I was first starting out, I often thought that fuck यार कितने लोग YouTube कर रहे हैं, कितने लोग podcast कर रहे हैं, why will people listen to me? But one, that sort of thought process is just not right, because they will listen to you because you are saying it,
Yeah.
like you are saying
Correct.
it. Right? It's not just कि मेरे को बस podcast सुनना है, मेरे को like I want to go listen to that person. That's one. And second is, like, everyone has a podcast, but everyone doesn't have a podcast that is alive.
Yeah.
Like, so many people just make it, have like 5 episodes, and it's dead. So I think if you can keep on going, like you said, if you can have like consistent uploads and just keep at it, be very resilient, you will be able to do, because then it's kind of like writing on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so many people use it, no one really writes on it. So the minute you start writing, start writing itself is a big thing, and starting writing consistently is like an even bigger
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think that's what really distinguishes you from
Yeah,
everyone
dude, there's
else.
like a term for this, right? There's actually a term for this. When I was also kind of, I think in the second year or third year of my podcasting journey, there's a term called pod fade, right? Which essentially says that the average number of episodes that a new podcast does and dies out, you know how much it is? It's 4.
Oh, damn.
So you release 4 episodes. You know, you release the first one, oh, Euphoria, great. Oh, people liked it. You know, your friends have uploaded stories on Instagram with it, and oh, go check this out. And like, yes, it's great. Second one, okay, this is also good. Third one, okay. Fourth one, you're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
So I think that's that number 4. I think once you go past that, you know, it's like the 27 club, right? Like for musicians who die before, who if they've made past 27. I think it's 26 or 27. I think it's 27, where like, you know, a lot of famous musicians have died at 27, be it Jimi Hendrix, be it Amy Winehouse, and all these people. And once you move past that age, people are like, हाँ, चलो ठीक है. So I think similarly, if you move past that number 4 thing, it's I think obviously you still have to create it. It's not like कि हाँ अब तो सही है, but at least as a mental thing you can do it, and you should really aim to kind of go beyond that mark, because I have created, for my own podcast, I've created about 46 episodes. So, you know, it's taken a bit of time, and now of course I've also reduced because I have another show. So I did an episode, right, like very recently on my show, which is like, that's what she said, where I kind of came to terms with that, like, look, you know, the uploads will be once a month now. I used to do like, okay, probably once in 2 weeks, but I have another way, like I have another means of communication. So I told my listeners that, you know what, just hop on there. Like, you know, you can, that is my bread and butter, literally. And you can, you know, go there and you know, hear me out if you want, are also interested in careers and workplaces, which I think everybody is, right? Like, you know, these are some of the things which, and that's what when we were creating the show as well, we were wondering कि यार ये तो apply तो सबको ही होगा, even though let's say you're not in that organization, which let's say is what the hook is based on, what one of the episode is based on. But apply to आपके लिए हो सकता है, or like at least some of the things that are happening, you can be like, shit, yeah, dude, this happened in my previous job.
Correct.
So I think that is, you know, I think, you know, that's an important sort of a thing to keep in mind with your content, to kind of make it that depth and that niche thing. It's a age old conversation. Oh, should I niche it out, or should I have a, you know, like a wider gamut of people who can attract? But I was like कि ठीक है, आप पहले consistently करो तो सही.
Correct.
हाँ, तो I was like कि आप वो 4 आप just cross that mark. You know, I think that's very important to cross that.
So I think you said something important here, ki, like, especially when you're starting something new, right? Often your fuel is the validation that you get, like the first wave of validation when people are like, fuck bro, you're doing something new, cool man, that's great. And obviously it dies out by like the first 3 episodes, because I remember when I started vlogging, the first like 4 vlogs were great. Everyone was like, fuck bro, kya vlog hai? By the 5th vlog, like no one gave a shit. And I think that dip is where what really tests your like being a creator, and like what truly drives you, right? Because if you were doing it because other people are like, fuck bro, acha kar raha hai, then you won't be able to last, because people are going to come and go. And ironically, the most support that I've gotten is obviously from like a few of my close friends, but a lot of the people that I expected that would be like, fuck bro, Adil ne upload kiya, chalo dekhte. They're like, haan, theek hai bro, whatever, which is fine, you know, like it's understandable. And complete strangers actually, or at least people that I don't know, maybe
You
from
got like
college
photos.
or,
Why don't you talk about that?
yeah, I'm coming to that. But like people from my college, my seniors, my juniors, they are the ones who are such adamant supporters of who you are, right? Which I've thought about it a lot. I feel like it's because they don't have like a preconceived notion of who you are. So it's easy for them to form an opinion about me looking at my content. But for the people who know me, who don't see me as a creator, right? They're like, fuck bro, Adil creator doesn't match. For them, it kind of becomes like a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Right? They don't get it. Ki fuck bro, ye kaise ho sakta hai? And that's why they're like a little weirded out about it. But yeah, man. So coming to validation, so we're sitting in a studio now, right? Which happens to be very close to your office.
Yeah.
But this place, I didn't know this was this place here. I came here. I had a recording yesterday, and I went to its original location. So the guy that owns this place, Marcel, I was talking to him, and I didn't know that it was here. So I went to the previous location. That's right there on Church Street, and that's in the WeWork at Church Street. So I was sitting inside, and you saw how much stuff I have, right? I
Yeah.
got like my entire studio. So I had so much stuff. I was like sweating. I was like, bro, what the fuck, man? Where am I? Where am I supposed to go? So I go inside the WeWork. I call Marcel. Like, no, bro, we're not there. You have to come here. And I'm standing. I'm waiting for an auto. It's one way. Auto is not coming. I'm like, bro, what will I do with so much stuff? And I'm vlogging also. So these 4 kids walk inside, and they look at me and they walk inside. And I'm like, fuck, man, they probably ask me for my camera and you know what I do and all of that. And I was not in a mood for it. So, and they come inside and they're like, bro, what's your YouTube? And I'm like, okay, for what? That's a nice assumption, but like, what's the context here? So they're like, bro, what's your YouTube? We've seen you. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And I was on the vlog and I looked at the vlog. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? How do they know me?
Yeah.
And they asked me that. And the guy opens up his phone and like 2 seconds mein, there's a video of me talking. And I'm like, bro, is that me? He's like, yeah, bro, I was watching you.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck, man. And I thought, okay, cool, you've seen me. That's great. You're like, हाँ भाई, वो करेंगे आपका YouTube क्या, Instagram क्या. That all they did. And then they're like, bro, can we take a picture? And I was like, bro, what the fuck? Yes, you can take a picture, man. So I think that was like my first. I don't know if it qualifies as like a fan moment.
It is a fan moment. No, you should own the fan moment. It is a fan moment.
But definitely like my very first like physical validation, right? And I think I wrote a note about it on my phone because I do this whenever like some very emotional thing happens, like good or bad.
Which app do you use for notes?
Just like on my phone, whatever. But I was like, it's so my vlogs. I have like 250 subscribers ish on my main channel and like 220 ish on my vlog channel, right? And often vlogs only get like 300, 400, max 500 views, which is still good like conversion wise. But I expect obviously कि fuck bro, मैं Casey Neistat vlog बना रहा तो millions आने चाहिए. So it's always there in the back of my mind. And you know, oftentimes I feel like as a creator, you underestimate that there is a person behind each number.
Yeah.
And to you, it's just a number on the screen, like, you know, whatever number of plays or views or whatever. But there's like an living
human.
person who is
That's very true.
spending.
I was thinking about this like very recently.
Yeah, who's spending like 10, 15 minutes of their day
lives, yeah.
looking at you and being like, fuck bro, ye acha kar raha hai. Which I feel is such a, because of the distance, right? Like the figurative distance, ki, haan, bhai, it's you, the screen, and then them.
Yeah.
It's difficult to imagine
It's
that, but I
difficult to
feel like we need to revisit it more and more. Because
100%.
I think you can't chase the number, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's really cliched, but it's true, right? And I think kind of reminding yourself that there are people who you don't know, who are looking at you and who like you, and you know, who are like, fuck bro, ye acha kar raha hai. Like I feel whatever, happy, sad, jo bhi hai, looking at that and I like it. That I think is such an underrated thing to really like reflect on.
You know what? I actually thought of a term for this, and it's like a